Welcome, viewers and listeners, to our World Below inaugural actual play. My name is Matthew Dawkins. I'm the developer of the World Below. I am the creative strategist or strategic creativist at Onyx Path Publishing. And it is my pleasure to unveil to you the World Below for the first time in actual play form. We don't know how it's going to go, but one thing we do know is that we have an amazing array of players, carefully vetted, no pressure on them whatsoever, to perform to their utmost. They're all skilled, trained actors of an improvisational background, and in fact, for some of them that is actually true. So I'm going to go around the group and I will introduce the first, and then that person can relay to the next person that they choose until it comes back round to me. So if you could not only introduce yourself, but the character you are playing, that would be absolutely wonderful. Let's start with you, Victoria.
Oh, me. Me first, no pressure. Hey, well, I'm Victoria. I love tabletop RPGs and horror games and dungeon crawlers. I'm not a trained improv actress. I'm a software engineer. So just one more nerd. And my character is called Seven Blackleg, and she is a twitchy, nervous Makairu, which is a rat-like humanoid. And she's an elemental chaosist, which is kind of like a sorcerer. And she thinks the world is doomed, and harnessing chaos is the only thing that she can do to prevent the apocalypse. Also, she loves rocks.
I mean, who wouldn't? It's a wonderful trait to have when you live in the world below. So relay on. Who would you like to pass over to next?
All right, Popcorn Michael.
Hi, I am Michael. I am happy to be here. I am playing Luke, a whimsical, self-amused hobgob who uses his talents in trickery and thievery to get what he wants. He's a trickster and thief with a dry sense of humor and a hunger for gold. I will pass it on to Zach.
I am Zachary Naldrick, he, him. I can be found on the interwebs at Zach Rules. It should be below my face somewhere around here. If you go there and it's somebody named Zach Ruiz, it's because you got to that social media site first. You can try Zach Rules Dice, or I'm just not using that one. I will be playing Trylin, Myceli Farsighter, and I am going to mispronounce things as I do throughout the stream. And I've been playing like 8 games this weekend, so I haven't had a chance to actually read any of the information that Matthew sent over. I just like the name, so I don't know what she can do yet. I'm still figuring that out.
Well, I will
learn together.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to illuminate, elucidate, and entertain in that regard. Something to note of Trylin, I'll point this out straight away, is a Trylin is of the Chilzil community, which is an indigenous peoples of the world below. So she is not descended from the those who exodused from the surface, but she is a part of the world below's broader community of heroes such as the ones here. So that is something of note. Now, who would you like to relay on to, Zach?
I'm going to, so that it keeps going in the circle, I'm going to go with Kat.
I was hoping you'd skip me and just go straight back to Matt.
And Kat gets the evening off.
Hi, I'm Kat Evans. I'm an RPG writer and designer, and tonight, Matthew, I will be Zayens, the platonic hunter. Zayens is the tough guy of the group. He is hard-headed, stubborn, vengeful. He's also, I think, what a paladin would look like in the world below. And when you've seen Zayens for about 5 minutes, I'll tell you a lot about the world below.
Well, thank you very much, Kat. And yeah, that pretty much covers who we're seeing in play in this session. Now, the world below, to set the scene, is our subterranean fantasy world. Something generations ago struck the surface world with a cataclysm that made it unlivable. What that is, ultimately, is irrelevant to where we are now. Everyone knows that you can't head up, you can only really head down and make the best of a somewhat deadly situation. The world below includes or involves the lives of many, many peoples. It's by no means uninhabited. Settlements are scattered through it. In a sea of darkness, they are beacons of light, down narrow passages, down chasms, in massive caves, across seas. All of these things exist in the subterranean gloom of the world below. Now, within that world, there is a season. It's a season that is nominal. People elect that at a certain time, when all the exploring is done, all the discovery is done, all the harvesting is done, at a time when it is deemed the best time, comes the calm season. Calm, as we discussed in our World Below panel just 30 minutes ago, Kat and I and others, is something of a misnomer, because this isn't a time when everyone gets to kick back and relax. Calm is a season when you have to build your habitats, you have to reconstruct, you have to spend time with your families, you have to lick your wounds. It's also the period during which new heroes are groomed from nothing, so that when the calm passes, they can leave and embark upon their new explorations and discoveries. Why would you ever leave your habitat? Well, because no habitat has everything that you need to survive in the world below. Some are incredibly fortunate. They may have an endless source of clear water. They may have clean air. They may have sustenance in abundance growing from the cave walls. But very few have all of these things, which is why people need to venture out. Once the calm passes, and the calm could be anything from chaos storms racking the world below through to raiders, some humanoid, many not, who are going to be, for whatever reason, possessed of a rage during that particular cycle. Once that passes, it's time to venture out again. And this is where we are with our 4 starting heroes. This is their first intrepid adventure out into the world below. The leashes are off. They need to make something of themselves. Of course, they may die trying. The world below can be a lethal place if you go out unprepared. All of our characters come equipped with certain abilities, as well as in other Story Path Ultra games, they have their skills and attributes, and when trying to accomplish something, if they can't do it through roleplay, they can certainly try with a dice roll. They add the value of their skill to the value of a requisite attribute, and then 8s and above are their hits. If they score the requisite number of hits, they succeed. Simple as that. Sometimes complications add complications. Sometimes enhancements make life a little easier or more dramatically flourishing of them. But that's the rules as a basic. Now, these characters aren't just stats on a sheet. They also have all kinds of backgrounds to them. We delved into that very briefly with the character introductions you just heard, but they speak to, for instance, a character's ancestry, a character's guild, a character's dogma, if they have a philosophy or a religion to their name. It speaks to their settlement. Where are they from? From where do they hail? All of these things help form your dawn in the world below, and your dawn is your origin. But moving on from that, you have a dialectic, and a dialectic is your communion with the world below. The world below speaks. The question is, do you listen or answer back? If you do, you have formed a dialectic. It's a two-way street. Now, a dialectic starts altering you in fundamental ways, maybe physically, maybe mentally, maybe spiritually. Not every dialectic goes around with mushrooms sprouting out of them or literally turning into a walking crystal, though some do. Some start changing mentally, some start attuning to parts of the world below based on what their dialectic is. Each of our characters has a different dialectic. And finally, every character has a calling. Your calling is, for want of a better term, your your class, your role, your clan. This is your archetype. This is the thing that you do when you are out and about, outside your settlement or community and venturing deeper into the world below. So, as an example, in this group, Zayen's, that's Kat's character, is a hunter. A hunter may be a slayer of beasts, or they could be a damn good farmer and forager. A hunter may be a tracker, could be a skilled cartographer. Hunters can be many things, but your calling, much as your dialectic, much as your dawn, they all unlock certain traits, certain heroic talents that you gain access to on your sheet. And this is the last thing I will cover in brief, something called your thesis, or theses if you have more than one, synthesis or syntheses, and sorceries. So a thesis is, as you probably know from what the word means, this is the way you project yourself onto the world below. These are things that sum you up as a character. These are traits you possess that help define the person you are. A synthesis is the way you interact with the world below. This is you harnessing power from it, from your environment, from the creatures. This is your dialectic power. And then you have your sorceries. These are all linked to your callings. Everyone has different sorceries based on what their callings are. Now, I'm rattling on at somewhat at length, both to give the viewers and listeners something of an introduction to what the world below is and the people you're playing, but also to do so for the players, because these players are, with the exception of Kat, who contributed to this book, no pressure, Kat, I am going to treat you like you know nothing about this game. They are new to this, just like you are new to it. So this is going to be an actual play of baby steps, where we take you through what characters can do, where we interact with the world below at an incredibly surface level, pun certainly not intended. You are not playing on the surface. Never go up, never go to the surface. That is a death sentence or worse. And yeah, we'll see what we can do. We'll see what role play we can get out of it and what story we can tell. So at this early stage, players, do you have any questions about the facets on your character sheets? I'm seeing shaking of heads. Well, that bodes well. So let's get into the game. Our characters are going to be starting their journey on a journey to Glowstream, the silent settlement. Well, Glowstream never used to be a silent settlement. Of all the settlements in the world below, Glowstream was arguably the most abundant, one of the wealthiest, one of the most known for its, I guess, decadence, but also its, well, its giving nature, because you could go to Glowstream from many different parts of the Many Ways Dark, passages that cut through the world below, but the Many Ways Dark is one of the most well-trod, safest, but least afflicted by chaos storms parts of the world below. Wedged somewhere between Telva's Hearth and Oricasta, deep, deep down, was Glowstream. And note that I say was, because Glowstream has fallen silent, hence its new epithet. This is a recent thing. The chaos storms that, I guess, tore their way through the world below in the most recent calm season, well, they were particularly violent, shall we say. There were a lot of settlements, a lot of people who were only able to batten down the hatches and do very little else. But it was expected that once the storms had subsided, messengers, scouts, moths, as they're sometimes called, the Guild of Merchants, would start moving between settlements, passing messages that weren't able to be delivered during the calm season. Trade would open up again between Glowstream, Telva's Hearth, Oricasta, Mudtown, other settlements well known throughout the world below. But Glowstream fell silent. No one has emerged, and the few people who have been sent there, well, wouldn't you know it, they've not come back. Yeah, it's a Mary Celeste kind of situation. And it is unnerving. It's unnerving to the people of Telver's Hearth, which is where you started your journey. You stand presently at a place called the Gap of Echoes. It's a deep, jagged chasm cutting through the stratum. The ceiling above you curves upward into a bowl shape, and magnetite stalactites are plunging down from the ceiling. Some incredibly long, longer than a human is tall. They glitter with tiny ores and gems. Sunflies buzz around them and cast an eerie light. Those ores, as a point of reference, would prove valuable to your people were you to mine any on this journey. You left Telver's Hearth earlier today. Your guilds, some of you are from different guilds, employed you to discover what has become of Glowstream. As we've established, it has fallen silent. Guildmaster Orion, a renowned and feared chaosist, constructed a chaos portal to where you presently stand, but even his power was unable to reach beyond the Echo's gap. Glowstream isn't far from here, though. You must find a way to cross the Gap of Echoes and descend deeper into the world below, where you know hostile and hungry creatures dwell. What's more, the portal Orion left for you will only last one day, so you can't afford to tarry. You remind yourself of what the Guildmaster said. If Glowstream has befallen some grave disaster, snatch what you can from its remains. We need information, but any treasures, they're yours to keep. This could be a fruitful exploration if you survive the journey there and back. And so Orion made that portal. Through it, you were either walked willingly or were pushed. And now you stand here at the Gap of Echoes. I turn it over to the players after a very long build-up. Are there any questions you have at this point? Anything you want to say in character or out?
Seven steps out of the portal with a gloomy look on her face. Like her player, she has long dark hair and a dark purple dress. The only rat-like feature about her is that she has long pointy ears. So to those who've played Baldur's Gate, she kind of looks like a female Zahn from Baldur's Gate 1. And her face looks just as gloomy. She
We're all
she
doomed.
she looks around at the dark tunnel, saying, Gloomstream is doomed. And so would we, unless we can harvest the chaos crystals from what's left of the city.
I mean, that's kind of harsh. We haven't seen it yet. We don't know what happened. Maybe there's, I mean, there doesn't seem to be a bridge. Maybe just a bridge got knocked out.
If they were capable of making contact with us, they would have done so with chaos. I know what chaos is capable of, and that includes communication. Dead silence, it can only mean doom. Doom.
And at this point, Zane's steps out of the portal behind these two. Zane's is a big guy, kind of ashy grey skin, dirty brown hair, made even bigger by the chunks of chitin that he's wearing as armor. And he puts this big hand down on Seven's shoulder. There are other answers than chaos. And he pats her on the shoulder and kind of moves past to start looking along the edge of this chasm.
And then Luke steps out of the portal last, and he's a hobgob, which I have an idea of what that would look like. Matthew, can you?
No, feel free to describe. So far, these are not illustrated for the book, so you may come up with something profound that I have to note down.
Yeah, I just imagine kind of a typical kind of a hobgoblin type, like wiry kind of golem type, maybe. Probably maybe a little more human than that, but in these like, so there's no people, but it's probably going to be some treasure we might be able to find. We can go in, find a way in, get the treasure.
Yes, treasure, treasure to save our village from doom. Science, this is what I like about you. You are always so optimistic. Lead the way.
How is everybody being dead optimistic? You have to have more faith in people.
Well, there's no owners for the treasure.
Um,
We won't be taking it from anybody.
Trillin, there are so many worse things to be than dead.
yes, Zayans is right.
Well, I'm glad Trillin at least has some hope, and it looks like Luke has some optimism for riches. But yes, as you stand at the edge of the Gap of Echoes, there's this chasm. You do not want to head down it. You know that Glowstream is not down there. You have to get to the other side. It's a, as mentioned, jagged chasm. It's as if the Earth at some point had a fight with itself and snapped violently down the middle. And so undoubtedly it reaches down far, and probably not the kind of place you'd want to fall without some kind of support. But Kat, you mentioned that Zions was taking a look around.
Yes.
And so one of the discoveries you make as you're walking the length of the chasm as much as one can from this side of your cave, you think at its narrowest point, the Gap of Echoes is probably about 15 feet, 4.5 meters across, which for most people isn't going to be jumpable, but it is potentially traversable if you can find a means of doing so. What's more, you can see that a root-woven bridge, because there are plants growing from the walls here through the geology, breaking through the rocks. There was a root-woven bridge that was in place. It now dangles on the opposite side of the chasm, wouldn't you know? If you'd like, you can make a survival plus cunning roll, Cat. I'm going to add a complication to this. So yeah, right, we're going straight out. Oh, and by the way, I should hasten to add that this group does start with momentum. It starts with 4 momentum. So if you're wanting
That
to
won't last
make
long.
any rerolls,
Not with me
Never
around.
does.
Have you seen the way I roll? We'll be
right.
at 8 in no time.
And remember, you can use momentum as enhancements as well, but you will need to score a hit in order to trigger said enhancement. So let's see, Kat, how do you do with survival plus cunning?
Okay, this should be a thing we're good at. Shouldn't it, boy? Survival
Well, you
plus
are
cunning.
new to this.
Cunning is a fox with a...
While Zion is observing the tavern, Seven will be looking for any usable chaos rocks.
There are certainly some in the ceiling. You can see them glowing there amidst the stalactites. You'd need some means of knocking them down. The ceiling is quite high above you, but you would know chaos rocks. You know them very well, Seven. They speak to you. In fact, I believe you keep one on you at all times. You're the first one you ever found.
My pet rock.
Indeed.
I look up at the stalactite, the ceiling, and I say, the ceiling calls me. And then I reach into my pocket and I take out my pet rock. So I'm going to say that my pet rock was the first ever toy that I had as a kid, that I made myself. And it's a rock that I've kind of carved into the shape of a baby doll.
Oh, wow.
And it's enchanted so it won't break. So I say, I'm going to see if I can knock down a piece of the chaos rocks in the ceiling. And then I throw my pet rock at the ceiling.
Okay, so I'll be asking for you a ranged combat and dexterity roll. You will have an enhancement because this is your pet rock synthesis.
Okay.
Now, but before we get to that, Kat, how did you do with your roll?
That's 2 successes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you brought
Ah.
off the complication as well, I assume.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 hits. 2 hits makes a success and a complication waived. You think because Zion's has a grappling hook. It is formed crudely of chitin and oars, but it does the job. It can act as a perfectly serviceable weapon as well. You know, you would spin it around your head and clobber some poor bastard who's approaching or running away from you if you wanted. But most importantly, it serves a utility purpose. That grappling hook could be used to hook the bridge and lift it up, or could be used, given you brought off the complication, you're not just mono fixated on the bridge option, could be used to hook one of the stalactites and act as a swing rope. 15 feet isn't too far to swing, and the grappling hook has enough length for you to do so. Whether one is better than the other kind of depends on what you think the upper body strength of your companions is.
I was just gonna ask that. How athletic do the gang look? Players.
Luke is not unathletic, not very strong,
As
dexterous.
Zahn looks lithe and Seven looks lithe and dexterous, but as she lifts her arm to throw the pet rock, you see her thin, tiny biceps.
Yeah, I think this is looking like a bridge situation,
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah, we don't want to die right at the beginning of our adventure.
Well,
I'm not.
So Luke, by all means, you can make an esoteric and intellect roll if you so wish,
All right.
to see if there's any of your syntheses you could use to good effect here.
All right. Esoterica.
And I rolled I rolled 4d10s and I got 1 success.
1 success. Okay, well, so that means you automatically get the enhancement, Victoria, because as long as you get a hit, any enhancements that you have on an item are automatically applied. So not only will your pet rock return to your hand after you do what you're trying, that's the joy of having a pet rock synthesis. You are aiming to what? Knock another one of these chaos rocks down?
Yes.
Or yeah, to add to your collection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think that is fair to do. No need to calculate damage. You throw it like a discus, you know, it's and this weird baby doll shaped rock goes spinning out of your hand, glowing as it goes, and neatly chips away another chaos rock almost directly above you, but that comes falling. Now, the question is, I didn't say there were any complications, so it's not going to fall into the chasm. But it does fall to the ground beside you. You're concentrating on catching your pet rock, not on the falling chaos rock, but it falls with a heavy thunk. It is pointed like a stalactite. It's so in theory you could use this as some kind of chaotic dagger if you wanted, though it's not built for that purpose. Nevertheless, it's a nice piece of treasure.
Excellent. I reach down, picking up the chaos rock as my pet rock returns to my hand. I pick both rocks up and I say, Igneous never lets me down. And then I put the pet rock and the chaos rock in my pocket.
Michael, how did you do on your roll?
1 success.
1 success. All right, so you're not sure. You're not sure with your hit whether you've got something that could help out in this situation beyond. You do have the ability to manipulate magnetics. hooks.
And I've got
Uh,
jewel sight, but that's just
mhm.
for valuable.
Yeah. The magnetite in the ceiling does contain ferrous metal. You could use that to hook any part of the. You could use it to hook the bridge, maybe. If the grappling hook doesn't work, potentially, you could pull that metal down, use it as a remote kind of grappling hook. But if that's what Zions wants to go for, you're going for the bridge, Cat? You're currently muted, so we will. What shall we assume?
Yes, going for the bridge.
All right then. Well, let's see how that goes. Could I ask, and we've got a bit of freedom here, you're using it as a tool rather than as a weapon, so you could use close combat and might, you could use athletics and dexterity, or any interchange of either. Hell, you could probably justify ranged combat at a push. So what are you thinking?
Before I do this, is there anything I can tie the rope off to? Because I really don't want to lose this hook. And I know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
I'm a climber. Maybe I can assist you.
That would be nice.
Yeah. That is
So
true.
so 7 has the climber thesis, which gives a +1 enhancement to climb with gear. So maybe I can help to secure Zion's grappling hook.
Yeah, certainly. You could find one of these outcroppings in the cave. The bridge wouldn't exactly be an attractive thing. It wouldn't neatly straddle the chasm, but you'd be able to find something high up that you could hook it to and then basically climb along it that way. Because that's the thing. You can't see the end of this as it plunges into the cavern, and that seems odd. The chasm's only 15 feet across at its narrowest point, as mentioned, but down there, it's dark. So let's see. I'm going to say that you're being in place to hook it onto something. Victoria is going to give an enhancement. In fact, I'm going to say it's going to give 2 enhancements to Zion's grappling hook roll to see whether he can secure it to something after snaring it. So what have you decided to roll, Kat?
I'm going to throw it in the exact same way I would throw it at the back of an opponent's head. So we're going to call it a close combat roll.
Okay.
Close
You mean the
combat
front
might, you said.
of an opponent's head, surely, being an honorable paladin-like.
I said a world below paladin.
Yes.
So much easier if they're not facing you. Okay, so
Ryan,
that's
that rock has a nice groove. Hooking the grappling device to it should help keep you safe, or at least as safe as any of us can be.
even Zayens thinks this girl needs to cheer up.
Trylin, while this is taking place and your companions are essentially trying the age-old question, trying to answer the age-old question of how do we cross this jaggedy chasm in the world below, what are you doing? You're able to observe this situation essentially as, so far, a non-participant. That's not a bad thing. It means you can actually scope out your environment. But what are you up to?
Looking around for any plant life on the other side.
Okay. I'm not going to make you roll for that, Zach. You can look around, you try and discern whether there's any plant life. There are some roots that are growing from the earth. They look in a pretty sorry state. Maybe they've been ravaged in the chaos storms. They were probably healthy up until a season ago, but the way things are, after the next calm, they may be rejuvenated. What's most interesting to you is the flora, at least you think it's flora, in the chasm itself. You can see some of it kind of reaching up toward the edges. There's not growing actively. Now, can I ask you to make let's call it a survival, or you could probably go for something like culture here if you wanted, or science and intellect. What do you want to go for?
Um, Survival.
Okay. And Kat, while Zach is rolling, how did you do?
2 again.
2 again. Okay. When they say that 8s and above is a hard system. And with the enhancement as well, the Victoria added, I should say 7 added, that means not only are you able to hook onto this bridge and lift it without losing your grappling hook or anything like that, you are able to swing back as well and neatly, deftly, in fact, hook it on the outcropping that 7 pointed out. It's a little higher than your current position. It's not at the narrowest point of the chasm because that's not where the bridge was, but you think you could reasonably safely cross this rope bridge. Now, here's the rub. We'll see what Zach rolled.
2.
2 successes or 2 hits again. Need
2
to
hits.
hammer out the use of the word successes. Hits equal a success. So you got 2 hits. Okay, that means you notice that isn't plant life, though that's webbing. That is maybe silk webbing, maybe something a little more organic, perhaps even faunal. The rope bridge that was here had fallen into it, and as Zions lifts the bridge out, of course, wouldn't you know, it disturbs all of that thick webbing. And so with a pop, 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 the bridge is pulled free because Zions rolled so damn well. But you just know enough about the ecology of places like this, Trilin, that there's going to be something or some things on the other end of that webbing. And that chasm, it's deep. The gap of echoes, it contains life. The rope bridge, what's more, is slightly shorter than you'd want for it to be. While it's hooked, and that's all gone to plan. The end of it, at some point, it doesn't look like it just fell down. It looks like it was chewed off. It's the old favorite of the wet end is the bit that's pulled out from the chasm, and now it's hooked onto the other side. And so we enter scene 2.
Before we do that, quick question. So it looks like my character has a short-term aspiration to add a chaos rock to my outfit,
That's
which I
right.
just did. What do short-term aspirations do when you fulfill them?
In the main, they would provide you with experience. For the purposes of this session, we will treat them as momentum generators, so we will add a momentum to the pool.
Awesome. We'll need it.
Yes, you will. So, okay, so we get to the point where the bridge is hooked up. Trilin, are you communicating any of this, your findings, to the rest of the group, or would it just serve to panic an already pessimistic crowd?
Yeah, be on guard, because this was eaten off. It didn't fall down by. Well, I guess it fell down because of natural, because creatures eat things, but like it wasn't like a nature event. It was an animal event or a creature event. So.
Oh, great.
Good to know.
Well, I hope we can talk to it and come to a peaceful solution.
I'll go first, if anyone wants.
If you're sure.
Yeah, I'll go. All right, so Luke is gonna go skipping along toward the bridge. He does have something that he does have like instinct, extrasensory perception, so he might know if there's he might know if something with hostile intent is following him.
That is true. So yes, that is as part of your being an Adamus, which is essentially attuned to crystals, precious stones, and so on. You can basically sense your environment around you, and you need to make a successful survival plus cunning roll. for it to work. But basically, you can actually. I should correct that. With ESP, you know if something is tracking you. With a roll, you know where it is.
All right, as I'm crossing the bridge.
Yes, as you're crossing the bridge, I will tell you outright, yes, the disturbance below you in the chasm has woken something up.
It's best to get across as quick as we can. So I'm going first. So my accent kind of changed a little there. All right, so I'm gonna roll.
You're a hobgoblin.
At least you've got one.
I'm gonna roll. Let's see. I'll do. I'll roll my survival and cunning as I'm crossing the bridge.
Wonderful. I'm not going to punish people because you have more than successfully lifted this bridge and hooked it up safely with the number of hits you got. So no one's going to have to roll to cross the bridge. That is going to occur, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it with complete safety.
I got one success.
One hit. So
one hit.
Yes, one hit. Don't worry. It's a learning experience for all of us. Okay. So here's what you find, Luke. I'm going to be dreadfully specific here. You are able to trace that you are being tracked, and not just by one thing. You're able to trace that you're being tracked by many things. Many things down in this chasm that are quickly rising to the surface are aware that they're essentially the flora they were chewing on, that they were probably using to help construct the webs that are down there, has just been wrenched from them, and they want to know where it's gone. They've got enough of a sensibility to know where you are now walking across it, because they can hear it, sense it creaking. And you think there's probably about a dozen of these creatures of size, and probably many, many more that are smaller than that. They should be up on the surface level where your companions are, because you're slightly elevated from all that. Probably within about 15 seconds.
Not much time if you're coming. There's about a dozen of them. At least.
Everyone go. I'm coming last.
I rush forward, looking anxiously back at Zion's, and it looks like I have a contact, Telver's Hearth Information Network, under the information category.
Yeah.
Would they have told me anything about the creatures in the tunnels?
Yeah, let's use that. Let's use that now. Excellent excellent stuff, Victoria. Pulling on the contact part of your sheet. Yeah, why not? The information network has told you that over the last few cycles down here, the Gap of Echoes has become increasingly inhabited by arachnida. So, as the name implies, spiderous creatures. They lack any kind of sharp or intuitive intellect. They are, for the most part, bestial. That is not the case as they get older. At that point, they start developing an alarming intelligence, but there is quite a gap between the lowest levels and those at that tier. The Gap of Echoes was largely avoided in the last season because of the arachnida infestation, and there were a lot of murmurs within your guild in Telver's Hearth of, well, maybe the Chaos Storm in the next calm season will just wipe it out, and then it'll be safe to cross again. So you've got information you can bring back to them if you get back that, no, that is not the case. The Chaos Storm didn't just happen to wipe them out.
I mutter beneath my breath to the others. Spiders, most bestial, some intelligent. Watch out. And based on what I know about the spiders, do I know what things the intelligent spiders consider valuable?
They're young.
Okay.
They are intelligent, but they are still very much a I guess base life form, in the sense they don't accrue valuables. their main agenda is to spread themselves and spread their young and make more and more intelligent members of their species. So the most likely thing to antagonize them, but also make them retreat in protection, is attacking their young.
I convey this to the others as I walk carefully across the bridge, and I say, well, if they're spiders, they must like food. Maybe if we can summon or create food to distract them, maybe call upon some animals.
Let's see,
How do
do any of you
sorceries
have
work?
such? Yeah, do any of you have such an ability?
I do see the words call animal on heroic talents. I don't have it, but if someone has it, they can maybe call upon some flies and like
I-
offer the flies.
How do
do.
sorceries work?
So it's quite simple. The prerequisite that is listed for the sorcery is also the dice pool that you roll. So, for instance, if you have call animal and you are a farsighter, you'll be rolling your leadership plus presence. If you are a hunter, you'll be rolling your survival and manipulation. If you're a chaosist, esoterica and composure.
Well, that would
But you would need that sorcery in order to use it.
So I do have it,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to do something slightly different with it, possibly.
Okay, all right.
And
Well, so you're still intending on going last, aren't you?
yes,
All right. So far I've not been breaking things up into initiative or anything like that, and I'll try and avoid that for the sake of narrative, but I will grant you this. Luke, you have reached the other side of the bridge now. You're on the other side of the chasm. That doesn't by default mean you are safe, though you can see a passage running off deeper into the world below. That means you are currently at something of a crossroads. You can, of course, hang around here, knowing that there are going to be arachnida presumably scuttling up to your side as well. You could run off, but you'd probably be alone in the world below, which isn't always a great thing. Right now, we also have Seven, who is crossing the bridge. Trilin, are you sticking to your side of the bridge, as in on the side of the chasm, or are you getting into that elevated position? I need to know this before Zion's acts.
I am going across the bridge.
Okay, so at this point, we've got two characters on the rope bridge. That is important, of course it is. But first, Zions, what are you planning on doing with your sorcery?
so given that I am a hunter and a tracker, and knowing animals is kind of my jam, now that Seven has told us that it's Arachnida, do I know that they will protect and defend their young and not endanger their young?
I'd say that's something you can quickly have communicated with each other.
Cool, because I want to use my call animal to call one of the Arachnida to come and be my escort / spider shield.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's see how that works then. So can
I think you mean if.
Yeah, but I'm an optimist. Can I ask you to make a survival and manipulation roll, please?
I would love to. Can I have a point of momentum for this, folks? Because this could go real wrong.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, use the one I added.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Matthew, you're not going to believe this. You're genuinely not going to believe this. I've got 2 hits again.
Oh, good lord.
Hey.
So Call Animal is a Heliagy sorcery. It's primarily a Farsighter sorcery in the world below, and this is for the sake of viewers as well as the players. Each of the sorceries has a basis with one calling, but certain sorceries can be accessed by other callings with different dice pools. Heliagy, worship of the sun, study of the sun, believe blessings of the sun is something that Farsighters, I don't know, have we got a Farsighter in this group? I think we
I
have, yeah,
believe Seven is.
Trilin is a Farsighter, Seven is a Chaosist. So yeah, Heliagy is what Farsighters focus on because it gives them certain divination and judgment-based abilities. But for the time being, where we are is with your 2 hits. Let's see. It says the user
Um.
reaches out into the chaos connecting all things, calls out for an animal to come to their aid. Hunters often employ the sorcery to aid with scouting, tracking, or combat, as we have just ascertained. So, etc., etc. The use may extend. The animal remains until the end of the scene or until destroyed. So we'll keep that in mind. Let's see, what else do we have? All right, so we don't have any consequences because you bought off the complication. You got 2 hits, so this is not a success with consequences.
I actually have 3 hits because I spent a point of momentum on this.
You did indeed, so
Which
you can use
means,
additional hits, additional
yes.
tricks. So it
Well,
says
I would
here in
like
the
to.
oh yes,
Yeah, I would like to
yeah,
do that. I would like to sit there on the edge of this chasm, chittering quietly, and then just instantly somehow click with the awful chittering arachnid that comes back up, and it's mine. We get one another. It is branded,
yes.
and will
The
do what I
branded,
want it to until the end of the scene without me having to point and shout at it.
yeah, the branded status effect is, well, it's not a literal brand, but it is a bond kind of connection between the caster in this case and the animal that they summon. And Zions, against all expectation from me, the story guide, has formed a branded bond between him and you'll get yours, don't worry. Between him and one of the Arachnida. As it mentions, additional hits can be used to increase the minion template. What that means is you can basically turn it into a bigger version of itself. And of course, the bigger or more lethal, more deadly, in D&D terms, it's the higher challenge rating of a creature. The more likely, in the case of the Arachnida, that it's going to be intelligent. And every 2 hits spent in this fashion increases the template by 1 step. I haven't ascertained what kind of Arachnida you were initially summoning, so I'm going to make a roll for myself to see how lucky you are, or unlucky. Let's see, what kind of Arachnida were you about to pull, and which one do you now get? Because they go all the way from Pest to Blight to Scourge to Horror. And I'm going to make my roll now. Okay. A bulbous creature with a brightly hued exoskeleton, venom dripping from its fangs, bounds up onto your side of the chasm, Zions, and it is impossible, even with your sorcery cast, to not feel somewhat unnerved by this. You know that your sorcery had an effect. You are attuned to the world below. That is the way these sorceries work. Chaos has rooted in you and reached out to this Arachnida. You know there's something there, but that doesn't mean that this creature, which is about half the size of you, that may not sound big, but when it's a spider, that's big.
No, that's a hefty spider.
Aw, how cute.
The first thing to bring a smile to Seven's face. A dog-sized spider. This many-legged creature lowers what constitutes its head. It hisses slightly. It does chitter. Its mandibles clamp together. Venom drools and hits the stone, the granite at your feet, and you think you hear a hiss from that as well. It does not attack. You didn't think it would, but you were worried it might. And so it squats there. You think this is probably one of their warriors. It's going to have a base level of intelligence. It's not going to be utterly feral, but it is certainly the kind of Arachnida that would command others, whether by rubbing its legs together, chittering, or exuding some kind of pheromone. So my question to you, Kat, is, are you going to command this arachnid to do anything in particular? Others are coming. This all happens within the course of about 10 seconds. You've got 5 seconds left.
So it's terrified as he is, because this thing is fucking terrifying, he's not moving. He is absolutely statue still on the edge of this chasm. And you all know this is Zion's default. Like, if he's not doing something, he's doing categorically nothing. He makes eye to awful face area contact with this spider. Let us pass quietly. Don't hurt us. We won't hurt you.
As you're communicating with it, you know at this point, and your friends at the other side of the chasm, Victoria, Seven has now reached the other side. That just leaves Trilin on the bridge. The other Arachnida are scuttling up to your level. The 5 seconds have passed. That's 15 in total. There are now, as completely pointedly, accurately guessed by Luke, a good dozen of these things, about 6 on one side, 6 on the other, and one lurching its way up the chasm. It's on your side, Zion's. It looks like a pregnant mother. For a fast-moving, scuttling species, this one is clearly laboring under its own weight. You convey your message to its warrior, its scourge. The other Arachnida are clearly waiting to follow its command. And so now I go to Trilin. Zach, you're on the bridge. It's impossible to not see this all happening beneath you. There's spiders to the back, there's spiders in front. Are you remaining on this bridge, or are you moving forward?
Are there any coming directly at her?
At Zion's?
At Trilin.
Trilin, no. In fact, you seem the safest one out of all your companions, because it is right now Luke and Seven are being surrounded, and they're probably using all their willpower to not just strike out at these things that could very easily bite, poison, and then devour them. Jumping into them might antagonize them, but staying up here is cowardly.
Zayans has made. No, is it obvious that Zayans has made?
Yeah. A scourge arachnida like this would not be sitting still this close to its prey unless mental communion had been made.
Given that Zion's like, you got this, or yeah.
Remains to be seen, but I hope so. I think so.
Gonna
Can
stay on the
you-
bridge for the moment.
Can you have your spider tell them that it's safe to let us pass, that we mean no harm to its young?
It's already communicating. We'll see if it works.
We can only hope.
There is a tense few moments now. The mother is getting closer. Trilin, you can see her from your position on the bridge now, looking down. Her shell, her carapace, is really quite beautiful if it wasn't on the back of a massive man-eating spider. It is iridescent with color, sparkling even. There's tails, apparently. The arachnida, especially the larger ones, eat precious gems as well as meat, and it exudes through to their shells, making them figures of some beauty and admittedly robust constitution as well. You don't eat rocks and not have it affect you in some way.
Luke is watching it like, wow.
Hungrily. Let's hope this goes badly. Well, I think as you have not only rolled all of those successful hits, not only that, but you also use your momentum, the Scourge makes its call to its many pests surrounding them, and now the floor is thick with tiny arachnida as well. You would struggle to actually move from your current position, Zions, and the same goes for Seven, and the same goes for Luke, without accidentally crunching one underneath, or 100 underneath your heels. So you are frozen like statues to avoid pissing these creatures off. But the Scourge makes its communication. First, the small ones descend, then the slightly larger ones. The mother hangs there in the webbing, glowing, glittering, until the only one left up on the side with you, Zions, is the soldier, Scourge, and on the other side of the chasm, everything looks free, looks plain sailing now. Trilon, are you going to continue moving?
Yeah, Charlie will, once the arachnids have cleared, continue on her way over.
Okay, now make an athletics and dexterity roll, because the rope bridge has just had 3 people cross it for the first time in a season. And let's see if you go vanishing down into the chasm. You can use momentum if you want.
How about survival
momentum.
instead of
I'll let you use survival. Essentially, you know
Athletics.
where to put your feet on the planks, as it were, or well, on the rope threads. This has a moderate complication attached. Do you want me to tell you what it is, or keep it a secret?
well, I got 2.
Okay, so 2. That means you hit, and you also buy off part of that complication. So here's what happens. You're able to get to the other side safely. You're good, Trilon. You bought off part of the complications. The rope bridge doesn't in its entirety go falling down into the chasm. However, it does go back, it resets to its point where it was hanging there, once again connecting with the web. The arachnida responds to that. Zions, you know at this point that even with this scourge on your side via sorcery, that the other arachnida are going to see this as some kind of hostile act. You need to move now. Unfortunately, there's no obvious way of you crossing without using your grappling hook to swing.
That's fine. So Trilon is off the bridge, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm going to reclaim my hook. I'm going to swing it into a stalactite and swing myself across.
So it's Indiana Jones time.
Indiana Jonesing it, baby.
All right then. What dice pool would you like to use for this? And remember, are there any theses or syntheses that you would like to use to help you here?
I think I'm on my own with this. Trust me, I've been looking at those theses and syntheses, and I do not think I've got anything going for me. But I feel like it's upper body strength and knowing how to sink that hook in. So I feel like maybe close combat and might.
All right. Now let's say that. Let's say that. I'm feeling generous. And viewers, thank you very much, everyone who is watching this, by the way. I appreciate there's a lot of you watching this live right now. For anyone who missed the beginning, this is our very first actual play of The World Below. We're more or less just demonstrating how some of the rules work, how some of the powers work, what some of the characters are like when interacting with their environment, and so on. So you will actually find this adventure in The World Below Ashcan edition, which is going to be coming out in the very near future. So, Kat, how did you do? If you say 2 hits again, by God.
1.
1 hit. Ooh.
Wait, do 10s explode in this game?
10s count as 2 successes. Well, 2 hits. 2 hits. And it's
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
It's just as well, because I could have had you losing that grappling hook as you swung there as a complication.
You wouldn't dare.
Oh, I would. But as it is, you swing with all your da-da-da-das, and just like that, John Williams throws you over to the other side of the chasm, and you're able to pull your grappling hook back with you. You are free and clear of the gap of echoes.
There is notably no panache, no look or sense of triumph. He just dusts himself off and puts the hook back over his shoulder. Like, job done.
Well done, Zions. Getting eaten by spiders would have been a very undignified way for all of us to go.
Well done, 7. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known what was crawling up the side of the chasm.
Good. Maybe with our teamwork, the world isn't doomed after all.
Or just pretend somebody thanked me for giving us a time limit.
Thank you to Luke for giving us
Yes.
time limit.
All right, well, let's be on.
And on you go, indeed, because moving on from the Gap of Echoes, you know from here to Glowstream requires traversing a mine shaft known as Onyx Drop. The Chaos Storm that carved this recess into the earth also unleashed a wave of unnatural darkness. It's difficult to pierce, even with a Farsighter's power. One must climb it carefully, however, as the walls are lined with spikes and jagged metal edges.
Now I have a map of the dark tunnels, so
Yes, you do
yes.
indeed. You do indeed.
So I assume I'm kind of navigating.
Yeah, that is exactly what you should be doing here, Michael. Thank you so much for raising that, and I don't mean that in a frustrated story guide, god damn it kind of way. You are utilizing what is on your character sheet, and that is all to the good. So, as you have a map of the dark tunnels, that will basically give you an enhancement to navigating such places. We have the darkness area effect in effect here. So this place is pitch black. There's a chaos effect that has rendered it as such. And in the world below, there is what in some games would be considered like planar effects throughout. So you have the abyss, which is a place of 0 life, a place where the life will probably be drained out of you, but of course undead are more than happy to dwell, fester, and flourish there. You have the Fade, which is a dream-like realm, which Adamas, like Luke, are often quite comfortable in. You also have the Dark, and the Dark, while similar in some ways to the Abyss, is more, as the name implies, about the absence of light than absence of life. Some places that are part of the dark aren't just dark because they're unlit. There is an unnatural gloom that can ill be penetrated without certain sorceries, syntheses, and theses. In this case, Luke has an artifact. All characters start with an item of importance, more than one, quite often. And one of Luke's is a map of the dark tunnels. That means not just dark tunnels, but tunnels with the dark effect. So typically, the darkness area effect would apply a complication to any actions involving movement, or ranged combat, that kind of thing, while moving through the darkness. If you were investigating, of course, the complication would be applied there as well. If you fail to buy off that complication, you can take an injury, fall prone, you might strike a different target than the one you've declared. If you're in a combat in the dark, that sort of thing. If you're investigating, you may receive a piece of misinformation. Basically, what I'm doing right now for the viewers and the players alike is explaining how some of these area effects work in the context of the game. Now, to go back to the point, and Luke is currently leading the group as a scout of sorts because he has this map. He has an enhancement to navigating dark tunnels. The complication that's in effect, I wouldn't say it nullifies the enhancement, but essentially, if you score a hit while trying to navigate, your enhancement can buy off the complication there and then. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Wonderful. So, can I ask you, while navigating this, and I know we've leaned quite heavily on this skill so far in this game, to make probably survival and cunning. I think that's the most appropriate here. There is a minor complication.
As a note, as soon as we get into an area with a darkness area effect, Trilyn will be activating her soul sight.
Oh,
Two hits.
2 hits. Well, that's wonderful. It means you are able to, I'm guessing, what are you going to use to lead the rest of your party through this gloom? Is it simply going to be a case of a thread or linking hands, making marks in the rock? What's the plan here, Luke?
I think I can, as I go along, I can be tapping my pet rock into the side of the tunnel to let them know which direction to come.
Okay.
Oh, you also have a pet rock.
I do.
What's its name?
And I don't think never really gave it a name. I guess just rock. Not
Oh,
very imaginative like that.
mine is called Igneous, and I take out my pet rock, shaped like a baby doll. You can see that it has red paint on its head, like I wanted to give it red hair, and I tap the head against the wall with you.
Well, maybe they'll have to spend time playing. Zach, I see you're holding up fingers, which presumably means you scored 3 hits here.
3 hits.
Good grief. Okay, so tell us, you've got the power description there, so tell us what you do.
While this sorcery is active, the user is unaffected by the darkness area effect. Now, activation takes 2 hits, as from my understanding of most rules in the game.
Yeah.
Which means that since I have 3, that the additional hits can be spent to share the enhanced sight with the wielder's allies, adding 1 additional creature per hit spent in this manner.
Are you extending that to your guide?
I will extend that to the guide.
Okay, well, that is wonderful. Then you are working together as teamwork in practice, considering how none of you know each other or knew each other particularly well. Some of you have grown up in Telver's Hearth together. Some of you are perfectly new to this enterprise. This is a good bonding moment as the Farsighter lends her power to Luke.
And I do have a 2-dot bond with Trilent. I see.
Well, yes, there you go. That means the relationship already exists. So you twist and turn through the near vertical passages of Onyx Drop. And at this point, you are feeling your way through, Luke, and it all feels perfectly natural, normal. You can kind of sense where metal outcroppings are going to be too sharp, or where a passage that seems wide is in fact going to become incredibly rough on the edges or lead into a pit. You're getting that sensation because the Farsighters gift to you and because of your map. Which you were able to see just dimly based on the few light sources you have with you. It does, however, come as a surprise when you hear a voice. Now, all of you hear it, but Luke hears it the strongest. It's whispered. Hey! Hey! You should stop. It's dangerous down there.
Who are you?
Milish. I'm a guide in these parts. I can show you the safest way down. I mean, it looks to me, from my vantage point, that you're all doing so very well navigating this this drop, onyx drop they call it, because of the shining onyx stones that you could see before the dark consumed this mine shaft. I know the safest routes. No metals, no jagged stones, nothing that would cut through cloth or skin. I'm happy to help you if you have something for me.
Oh, but so you just sit in the dark and wait for people to come along?
Something like that.
7 is looking around at her party, like, should we trust this guy? What's the equivalent of an insight check?
Yeah, very good question. I think something like empathy. You have empathy?
I do not.
No.
7 has no empathy.
Luke has one empathy.
Integrity.
Well, integrity isn't a skill in Ultra, is the thing. So, you could empathy, maybe culture, and cunning is probably the best way. You could argue composure because you're trying to retain. You're trying to, I guess, get a read on someone else's lies. But as Victoria raised it, what do you think? And also, by the way, look at your syntheses, your theses. There may be something there you might be able to use.
I have 1 dot in culture. I could use it to assist Luke, like
Yeah.
listening and with my facial expressions convey to Luke what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
And I have 5 in cunning,
Yeah.
and 2 in culture. So I presumably, unless the rolling is terrible.
Well, you will gain an enhancement based on the strength of your bond with Victoria's character 7. So what's
Okay,
your
yeah,
bond with
we've got a
7?
1 dot bond.
Okay. So yeah, you go ahead and make the roll because you're getting some teamwork here from where 7 is basically urging you. Now, do we trust someone like this? I mean, it seems highly unlikely that we would.
3 successes.
3 successes.
Oh wow, another 3 hits. Whoa. Okay.
Oh, 3 hits.
That's all right, and you get your enhancement on top of that. So there's a few things I will reveal here because, yeah, there is a complication which you successfully buy off, which is any port in a storm. Right now you are in the gloom, you're far away from home, and I will get to you in a moment, Zach. I see you have a finger raised, not to worry. But more than anything else, yeah, your alarm bells are going off here. The kind of people that lurk in darkness and offer to lead you to safety tend to do everything but that. And what's more, you're given the sheer number of hits you are picking up. I would say, while you cannot determine outright if this person is lying, that would be down to a synthesis that Trilin possesses.
That's why I had my hand up.
You certainly think this person means you harm. You don't know the nature of it, but you don't necessarily have to. You're frankly surprised, given how well you do, whether this ruse works on anyone except for a desperate traveler. Now, Trilin, if you want, you can use your reveal falsehood synthesis, but I would suggest you need to ask a question to essentially find out whether there is a specific lie being told. I will give you this, though, Trilin. Upright, Mylish is a Chilzil name, so this person is theoretically of your community, but that doesn't mean you have to be friends with them.
So then what are you doing here?
Okay.
It doesn't say roll, it just gives a complication for them to lie.
Yeah, in that case, I will try lying with a roll, and I will apply a complication to that. And this would be versus your integrity, which is a combination of traits in this regard. But given that I somehow seem to be the only person in this scenario who has so far rolled 0 hits, and this person isn't bad, they've got a pool of 6 for what I've classified as charm, murder, and traps. Not to give away exactly what this person's about. I just rolled 6 dice, got no hits, and also a complication. So I'm going to reveal something further. Trilin, you actually know the name Mylish. Not only is this person lying, not only is this person intending on doing you harm, leading you to somewhere where you will almost definitely meet a death trap, you recognize the name. This person is an outcast from the Chilzil community. Milish, several cycles ago, joined the Lords and Ladies of Rot, or Rot as they're known, a thoroughly corrupted and phantom worshipping cult who have very few redeeming features beyond their worldly knowledge. And even acquiring that knowledge comes at a huge cost. So yeah, you know this person, and they aren't nice. So are you going to come with me?
I think we're going to keep going on our own. Thank you, but I think not.
Please. I'm very alone down here.
I don't know if you know the way so well. Walk yourself out.
Yeah, there's not really an argument against that, is there? Okay. You keep on with your descent. Milish, although not in this immediate shaft, does dog your heels. Oh, you're going to end up in some terrible trouble if you don't follow me.
You're going to end up in some terrible trouble if you continue to follow me.
Wait. I recognize that accent.
You do.
So high and mighty.
And I can, and when we're done, I can bring you back if you want to stand trial.
Trial. I don't recognize anything.
You see, but that doesn't matter if you don't recognize it. They recognize it, and if you want to risk your chance of dealing with that punishment, you can continue to follow us.
You're pathetic. You're the pathetic one. You are the pathetic one for thinking that a broken people like the Chilzil have any authority, any judgment that they can cast, ever since people like your friends here came along and broke up our people. Nothing but a sham. You should find a greater calling, my sister. I can direct you to one. I can lead you to it. I can bathe your face in it. And so he goes on.
I'm tired of you talking, and I'm going to use Floral Fortress to entangle Miles. And thankfully, 10's exploding. That would, or for doubles, that's going to be 3.
3 hits. Yeah, we don't need momentum in this game at all.
We're rolling really well.
Yeah. Now, I will say, for the purposes of listeners, that when using sorceries, depending on where you are in the world below, different complications might apply. The deeper you go, it tends to be the greater the complications, and therefore the more likely the chaotic retaliations. If you were to compare it to a different game, these would be wild magic effects. These would be paradox effects in a game like Mage. Chaos lives up to its name. It is a system that has an effect to using. Now, so far, those side effects haven't emerged due to the, let's say, painful good luck that this party has had in their dice rolls. But I'm keeping it in mind. So, as an example, this one, I believe, Floral Fortress, did you say? That is a simple sorcery. So when using a simple sorcery, it's the skill plus attribute that is listed in the sorcery's description, which Zach has just rolled. If there is a chaos level in the area, that provides an enhancement naturally. There will be a base difficulty equal to the sorcery's mastery value. This is a basic one, I believe. Mastery is basic, so the difficulty is 1. So again, nice and simple. And yeah, if you fail on a simple sorcery, there are side effects, and on successes with consequences, so that being complications, basically those complications tend to be of a chaotic nature. As it is, I'm describing this to you because it hasn't come up yet, but for the sake of this particular action, everything went off well. You got 3 hits, which means you can purchase additional tricks. So, I mean, right, the Floral Fortress effects, why don't you describe, Zach, what Floral Fortress does to the viewers and listeners?
By communing with local plant life, the caster can choose a target to be absorbed into a protective shell of vines, tendrils, or fungi. Choose a creature or location within long range the user is aware of. If that target has a branded status effect, the user knows that the brand, they may choose a target regardless of distance. The wielder commands local plant life in the target's area to cocoon the individual in a grappling action using the Farsighter's Persuasion plus Intellect pool, making them invulnerable to all forms of damage for a number of rounds equal to the hits on the sorcery roll.
Which in this case was 3.
Target may attempt to resist this grapple. They may not know its motives, as if they were being attacked.
Indeed. Now, you got your additional 2 hits, so that would tend to mean that you can use Floral Fortress to attack other people.
I'm going to use I'm going to use the additional hits to extend the time.
Yep, that's the alternative.
Miles is held.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm going to roll to see if Milish can resist this. Unfortunately, physical actions are not Milish's strong suit. I mean, what is at this point? So okay, I do actually roll well here, but I only had a pool of 4. The upshot is going to be that you are still successful, though he is not going to remain grappled for long. He will be stuck in there for 2 rounds rather than 3. So it's time to move while he's struggling with his viney prison.
I don't suppose we can end him, since it will stop him from preying on other travelers. Besides, he's probably doomed anyways.
I guess we all are.
The purpose was just to get away from him, to buy us time. And Tryland, who can see in the dark, is going to keep moving away from him.
Very well. Who knows what he can do once he gets out? And then I follow Luke and Tryland.
Zions?
Plugging along at the back.
Yep, you're the hefty hunter with the chitin armor, so you're having to take extra care through all of this. I mean, you don't know exactly where Milish is. You've obviously heard this exchange. Is it your desire to put this cultist out of everyone's misery while you're at the back of the party, or are you going to keep moving along with everyone else?
Oh, I'm sure he'll be back to bother us on the return journey. I'll get him then.
All right.
No, I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah. All right then. So we're now at the halfway point, probably slightly past that. So what I would suggest now is it's a good time for people to have bio breaks, do what they need, stretch their legs, etc. Please do not leave the call because it will result in our cameras going all over the place. Hell,
Like
that
that.
usually happens as soon as anyone leaves. I think it's already happened. So yeah, if you can, keep your camera on, even if you get up. There you go, Victoria's back. But I'll let Sarah rearrange people in the control room. Because according to the panel now, interestingly, I am Kat Evans. Victoria is now Matthew Dawkins. That's a burden to carry.
Yeah, someone else's turn.
And Kat has become Zach. So
Cool.
Zach has become Victoria. Wow, this is a body swap. Only Michael remains the same. So yeah, I'll let Sarah rearrange us. Already done because Sarah is so damn quick at this kind of thing.
Sorry, Sarah.
This is not Sarah's first rodeo.
Yes, and we will return in about 5 minutes. So. And we're back. We're back with the World Below actual play, our inaugural World Below actual play. Thank you very much, everybody who stuck around, and thank you very much, everyone who raided, and hopefully some of you will stick around too. Very happy to see you all here. We have played through the first half of our scenario for the World Below. The scenario is present in the World Below Ashcan edition, which is going to be released very soon. And really what we've been demonstrating is some of the abilities, some of the worldly aspects, some of the characters you can play in the World Below, hopefully describing them in as simple a way as possible so that people can follow along. And maybe if you decide to run this game yourself, you can, well, follow in the footsteps or go off in completely different directions to how our characters have interacted with things. So far, they've done very well. Though, you know, and obviously all credits to their fantastic role play, and all damning credits to their fantastic dice rolls, which have really made life easy in some cases for them. But you know, that's part of the story. They can have a character journey that is incredibly fortuitous. But will they remain that way? We shall see. We shall see indeed. Where last we left our characters, they were descending Onyx Drop, a mine shaft full of lovely traps, jagged pieces of metal, rough pieces of stone, and they were trying, well, someone was attempting to lure them into some manner of trap of the deathly variety. It was a cultist in the walls. That's always the best place for cultists to hide. A worshipper of the lords and ladies of Rot. The party were savvy enough to see through his lies, helped, of course, by the fact that our player characters did so damn well at actually guiding themselves through the dark rather than having to rely on a mysterious guide in the walls. So as it is, they have reached the bottom of Onyx Drop, and that means they are just about ready to move on to the next phase of their journey. As the dark eases up and illumination reaches them once again, and they come blinking out of this area that was shrouded in unnatural darkness, they find themselves at another crossroads. There's several tunnels leading away from here. Some head back the way you came, some head down, some head up. Some of these passages look organically formed, like the geology has succumbed to certain effects in the strata, but some of them have been mined out to make passages. This never used to be the only way to and from Glowstream. That would be a hapless way to create trade routes between Telva's Hearth and Glowstream if you had to constantly navigate a chasm full of Arachnida and a dark-filled drop. But many of the routes have since caved in or become impassable or become infested with certain creatures. And this was the closest your guildmaster Orion could actually place you before you made this journey. So here you are now at this crossroads, looking around, trying to gain a sense of which direction Glowstream might be in.
Do they all look the same, basically?
No, certainly not. Some look hewn from the rock, some look more natural. Whether they have been burrowed out by creatures or indeed formed through tremors and quakes, even lava flow potentially. Of course, there's always the possibility chaos storms. They can change the mineral structure of geology all around here and make it all kinds of weird. But no, this crossroads, you can see the parts that have been hewn by people pretty damn easily. And that's such a tunnel stretches in that direction, let's call it east, and that direction west. But you are now quite significantly lower in the strata than you were when you started off. And it isn't always a case of just heading forwards. Thankfully, I will also add, this is a rare period where you can rest. You can see from the glittering rocks in this tunnel, which is quite broad, this crossroads is quite broad, that there's no life that you can discern in here. There's some lichens, some small fungi growing on the walls here. There's some semi-precious ores that are visible protruding from the surfaces, but there's nothing with a face just about to chomp you. So now is a good opportunity to perhaps discuss what you plan to do when you actually get to Glowstream.
Well, I suppose when we get to Glowstream, we should look for survivors, however unlikely that is. As Trillin says, maybe they are not all doomed.
They may not be dead. They may have simply decided to cut contact.
That would be an optimistic scenario.
They'd have to have
No,
convinced
no,
everybody
it would
else who went
not,
in after them.
Seven.
That's optimistic, I think.
No, there are many cults, many predators, many ways to take over a settlement that are worse than destroying it. What we find there might not be an empty town, but a town full of enemies. And I think we should be
Well,
prepared for that.
indeed. Well, I am a member of the Blackleg clan. We are a big and loyal clan, even if Glowstream was under cult influence. I should be able to get one of my family to talk to me.
Good.
I'm sure we can find common ground with whoever may be inhabiting if it's not the original settlement that was there. And as a note, story guide, I have been attempting to forage these fungi to see if there's anything that is suitable for any sort of use. I figure
Do you
that
have
would
medicine or science, or are you
I-
looking at survival again?
I mean, my medicine is the same as my survival.
Let's go for medicine.
So that was not a good roll.
Oh, good! Hooray!
Our luck has officially turned.
A failure
that was
at last.
3 1s and a 6.
Oh wow! Okay. You harvest some fungi that you think will actually strengthen you, give you some oomph, and will basically mean you won't need to sleep for the next 24 hours or thereabouts. You don't often see this kind of fungi on this stratum, which is a bit curious, but well, sometimes fate smiles on you, or Fortuna does anyway. She is the goddess of the hour.
I have esoterica and science and survival. Could I maybe notice that Trillin is foraging these mushrooms and check to see what they do?
Well, let's see. Is Trilin doing this openly or privately?
I mean, it's openly. She's not like, oh, look what I found, and
Yeah.
just shoving. This is kind of common behavior that of what she does, and it would not be out of the ordinary for her to be picking mushrooms. It's kind of her thing.
Okay, Victoria, if Seven wishes to make a roll to say, wait, don't put that toadstool in your mouth, this is highly toxic or words to that effect, you can do so. What skill and attribute do you wish to pair together?
Would intelligence and esoterica make sense?
Yeah, let's go for esoterica, because it could well be that Trident has just foraged some highly chaotic fungi.
Okay. That's a 9d10.
Oh, good lord.
Wow.
I only got one success.
One hit on a 90-10, great.
Okay, chat, what did you do to us during the break?
I spoke to the dice gods. I spoke to Fortuna. I prayed that my
Made
players
some
would
blood
suffer.
sacrifices.
Yes. So what do you get? Well, you get one hit. That tells you that despite Trilin's confidence in harvesting these particular fungi, you are not nearly as confident. You don't have an exact read on what these are, but you certainly wouldn't want to consume them without rigorous testing, probably from an alchemist of some kind or a member of the gastrovores, the kitchen guild.
Trilon, I don't like the look of that fungi. If you eat it, you might be doomed.
Who said anything about me eating it?
What
This
else
is
would you do with fungi? Poison our enemies?
I know people who deal with this stuff. I trade. That's what I do. I
Oh,
know
that's
I know
good.
people.
That's good. Sorry for misunderstanding. As long as you study the fungi and know its effects before eating them or selling them, then maybe you're not so doomed.
Well, Yovlin, the spore harvester, they deal with mushrooms. I can make money, or the equivalent of money, whatever it is in the world below.
That's actually a good point. At this time, let's go into that a little. In the world below, currency as a concept does exist, but it doesn't exist world below wide. There is no one settlement with nearly enough of a monopoly on minting currency or having enough ore within its reach to basically control the flow of it. So there's no central bank or anything like that. For obvious reasons, given the survival nature of the world below, how dominant the question of survival is, an awful lot of trade is governed by barter and physical trade of one asset for another, i.e., we're hungry, so we need fungi, or we're thirsty, so we need clean water. That's at its most simple. But then you start getting into manufacturing. People are going to start trading ores. People will start ferrying ores across the world below. And as you are divided across various strata in the vast underneath, some settlements are going to have greater access to one ore than another. But then let's get back to the point of currency. Different settlements craft and mint different currencies, but they have different purposes. Some they use as tokens just to say, hey, I'm from here, look, here are my coins. Some will use them by basically placing one of their coins on a person or monster that they've killed to basically mark their passage. Others will, as currency tends to be used for, use it to purchase things. But those kinds of currencies are made typically from ores that are valuable, that can be reforged, or the settlement is large enough to have that level of influence over some others. So it's a complicated answer, but it's one of those aspects of the world below where part of the world building, it's designed to make sense within the society in which you live. The most commonly useful thing to harvest, to procure, to gather is food stuff, is survival items. So whether that's chitin for armor, metal for weapons and tools, or fungi for eating, for medicines and such. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. All right then. So yeah, in Trident's case, Trident may well be Trident is a member of the Moths Guild. The Moths are mercantile by nature, nomadic, traveling, and they look after each other. And they will pick up much of anything to trade with anyone. They don't have qualms in that regard. But yeah, what they'll be paid in return will hopefully, if they're a good merchant, be better than what they sold. So you trade away these hallucinogens for something maybe slightly more lethal, and you trade away that lethal thing for something more life-giving, and so on it goes.
Trilon, it is good for you to find goods to barter. I, too, sometimes have to trade treasures in exchange for interesting rocks.
Yeah. So, do we say which way we're going?
No, I don't
Not at all.
believe we did.
Give me a moment. And I take out the grappling hook.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
stand directly at the center of the crossroads and just swing it like a pendulum. And I would like to use my dowsing sorcery, please.
Oh, lovely.
Hmm.
Great use of a grappling hook there, Cat.
I have
Wonderful.
one thing in my inventory, okay?
You
No,
travel light.
That's a really inventive way of using this. Now, this is a supplemental sorcery. So that does work slightly differently to simple sorceries. Not too much. It's just that you would usually have a dice pool detailed in the sorcery's description.
Survival plus cunning.
Yep. And there will be a complication based on the sorcery's mastery value, which I think in this case is 1, so it's a minor complication. So even if the sorcery fails, you may still succeed at divining, if that makes sense. You won't have access to any of the tricks. So let's see what happens. Have you made your roll?
I have not. Oh, for God. I feel bad.
Oh, is it 2 hits again, Cat?
No, it's not. It's not. Haven't finished rolling and I've got an 8, 9, and a 10.
Oh, good lord.
Sorry, I'm not doing this on purpose. My dice don't usually do this.
No.
Have I finished rolling? Cunning plus survival. I got one more to go. Hang on.
Don't apologize for rolling well.
No, not
Instead,
at all.
you should rub it in the GM's face.
I'll remember this
No,
for rage
because
later, Victoria. Don't think I won't.
I don't want my Scion
Joke's on
character
you.
to
I
die
don't
next
roll
time we
that well
play.
in race.
Yeah. Don't forget who's
That's,
playing your shadow.
Oh, my shadow's been a little bit weak lately. I'm sure that it'll be fine.
Oh, you just rub it in. Okay, at this
That's
point the
5
player's getting
successes.
fearless. Five hits.
Yep. It's only a 5 dice pool.
Oh, good
Yeah.
lord above. Our Fortuna smiles upon you, Zions. I know you are a member of the Temple of the Benevolent Earth. What they like to say is the world below provides.
In abundance, apparently.
The world below provides. And in this case, the world below most certainly provides a keen direction to you, a firm direction. You are certain that down that passage, you think westerly from your present direction, you are going to be able to find the settlement of Glowstream. You're sure of it. I mean, on 5 hits, you're damn sure of it. Let's be honest.
I can practically taste it.
Yes.
Yeah, I jerk my thumb in that direction and go that way.
All right, let's go. We ready?
Yeah. Have you got everything prepared that you want to?
I think so.
Bad.
All right then. So Onyx Drop is behind you. Sparkling fungi illuminate the wide passage running from where you are now to Glowstream. There was a time when this tunnel was lined with shrines, small habitats, merchants and alcoves selling their wares. But since the last calm season, it appears as if a storm, maybe a swarm, I was about to say, but a storm has swept through and obliterated anything usable or livable. However, you're not alone here. Piecing together the wreckage from a collapsed store, you can spy a Makiru and a human. They're both clad in Hemexi woven cloaks, bearing the sigil of the moths. They haven't noticed you. So I'll unpack that a little. A Makiru is a rat person, to put it simply, much as Seven Blackleg is.
Hi.
They will have rodent features to varying degrees, but they are born as rats and then they grow into fully formed humanoids. Humans are, well, as humans always are, plucky sorts that somehow survive every kind of encounter thrown at them. Hemexi, and the cloaks we're talking about, Hemexi are one of the greatest blights on the world below, at least according to people who aren't Hemexi. They are spiderous or crustacean, depending on the guild you're from. You might disagree on that. Like creatures with humanoid torsos They tend to wear masks, crowns, helmets with flowing headdresses that conceal their facial appearances, but there's no getting away from the fact that Hemexi is a vile, blood-drinking creature. They are known for it. They are vampiric, would be a way to put it. They cross the arachnid with the humanoid. Interesting that you've already encountered the arachnid, and now you're about to potentially encounter something of the Hemexi here, but it is just Hemexi woven cloaks. They're very good weavers. As I say, these moths, that's the merchant guild we mentioned earlier, they are piecing together a collapsed store, and they haven't noticed your approach. Does one of you wish to make an introduction, or do you not? Well, then again, you may not trust them.
I mean, why wouldn't Trilyn trust her guild?
That's true. Well, you can
Hi.
see one of them stacking a firm piece of stalagmite turned support on top of a sled. This is the human. He's rubbing his head.
Hi, how y'all doing?
They start the announcement of your presence, and the Makiru goes for the weapon at her
Sorry,
side, but
didn't mean to startle you.
Oh no, and Traylon will show her own Hemexi woven cloak with the moth on it. I'm one of y'all. Passing through. You need some help?
another moth, says the Makiru.
Yeah.
From where are you hailing, friend moth?
Oh, I've been around in different places. See, we were at that one place with the big stalactites, and then there was the place with the a lot of people, a lot of people. Very little trading. It was weird. There was just anyway, so yeah, we were looking. I was looking for this the glowing city,
Glowstream.
Glowstream. That's it. Yeah.
Well, you're certainly close to it, but I'm cautious as to why you're being vague about your origin, unless Zach can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I know you, Zach. You came from Telver's Hearth. If you want to say that, you can, but you can by all means be cagey. It's up to you. So,
Yeah, we were was last in Telver's Hearth.
from the
And
Hearth.
yeah,
Major
and
way
so
here.
there was a apparently after the last season pass, the trade route to Glowstream got shut off. So we're going to check it out and get in touch with them and hook things back up again. And
Well, look
You
at
know,
all of this, the human says, gesturing at the alcoves. This place was resplendent with moths and artificers of all kinds. Now look at it. We're not even in Glowstream yet.
we know that Glowstream's been quiet. People have. Do you think this is related to everything that's happened in here?
No, we made out, shall we tell them? And the Makiru nods. Well, first, let us introduce ourselves properly instead of dancing around the heads of stalagmites. I am August Tybold. And the Makiru introduces herself. Willa Blackleg.
Ah, a fellow Blackleg.
Ah,
I am
cousin.
Seven Blackleg.
At that
cousin.
point, she warms up straight away, and despite your rather cool and, shall we say, doomsaying demeanor, she runs up to you and embraces you immediately.
Seven looks a little bit awkward, startling as she gets hugged, but then she awkwardly hugs her cousin.
Willa gives you a kiss on the cheek and then backs off. So wonderful to see another Blackleg down here.
Willa, cousin, it is good to see you are well, and that doom has not befallen you.
No, the doom is coming, cousin, but not to me, not to us. We Blacklegs will persevere, even if the rest of the world below falls.
Well,
That is my hope too.
As long as the young are protected, cousin, that is what we can hope for.
The young is the future.
The pups. Oh, always the same with Macaroon. Get them together, they start talking about the apocalypse. Now, yes, we came here as well from Mudtown.
I'm from Mudtown. Luke, I'm from
Truly.
Mudtown, the Union of Cartographers.
A good cartographer. I don't always get on with you map makers, but you serve a valuable purpose.
No one likes to get lost.
Well, quite. Well, from what we can tell, everyone in Glowstream's got lost. We've been as far as the settlement. I think it's fair to say that it has seen better days. We entered it, found it empty of life, and then we stumbled, Willa and I, upon a battle.
A battle. That does spell doom. Who was fighting?
Hemexi and Clothar. You know Clothar to be tarry, squid-like, shape-shifting creatures that nobody wants to spend time around. Now, neither of these peoples are the kinds you're likely to enter into diplomatic negotiations with. Both are extremely predatory, the Clothar and the Hemexi. But so on one hand, it's good that they're fighting each other and that they weren't fighting these two moths. But on the other, that does indicate a somewhat monstrous presence in the remains of Glowstream. August continues. We fled the havoc, retreated to this exterior Glowstream tunnel. We were looking for whatever belongings we could ferry back to Mudtown from here. But I wouldn't be heading back into Glowstream anytime soon. It's a sick settlement. Nobody there unless they become Clothar and Hemexi. Certainly no one I recognize.
A fate I wouldn't wish on my worst enemies.
Willa says, well, the world below does change people, cousin. You know how it changes people. For all we know, the Clothar have consumed the inhabitants of Glowstream, and the Hemexi are just there to pick at the edges.
Story guide, do I believe any of this, or are they just trying to steer us away from Glowstream?
Oh, good question. Can you make an empathy roll?
Yeah,
I'd probably add it.
composure?
Let's go for composure.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that. That gives me a much better dice pool.
I'm going to add a complication in the sense that these two, compared to Mylish, the cultist, seem trustworthy.
It's
I
my
mean, they're moths.
cousin.
Yeah,
my
yeah,
Blackleg clan
Exactly.
loyal
Trust her like
contact.
anyone who's not part of the temple. Thank you. That's a lot of
That's
composure and a little bit of empathy. Oh Christ, this isn't fair. You're
Why
never
have
gonna
you?
believe me again. It's 4. It's 4 hits, Matthew. It's 4. I'm gonna
Yay.
change my dice out because this is just
No,
not.
no. Well, viewers, listeners, sometimes this is the way things go. Our heroes are showing exactly why they're heroic, and I just
Yeah,
have
I'm
to
still
remember.
changing my dice. Something's up here.
Yeah. I should note that because we have had 2 failures so far in this entire game, we do have 2 additional momentum in the pool, which it seems never need using. Not with this group anyway.
So that's 6 now.
Yep. Yes, because 1 was spent. So yeah. So do you trust them? Do they seem to be lying or trying to mislead you? No, they do seem to be on the level, on the square, as it were. They are telling you the truth. They seem a combination of frightened and tired, but by no means duplicitous.
For anyone who is
Oh.
looking at Zane's, he relaxes a little bit, which means he's only looming at like a 9 out of 10 now.
Well, cousin, thank you for the warning. Unfortunately, it is our mission to find out what happened to Glowstream. So we have to go.
You
For
are
the
the first people we know of who've been there and gotten back.
Oh, I'm sure
good
there
to
are
hear.
others, says Willow. I have no
Hmm.
doubt, and she leans in. There are other scavengers, especially, who have ripped the treasures free from Glowstream and
Ah,
taken them back elsewhere. I mean, do not get me wrong, fellow mud towner. We will have done the same if there were more of us, but we were simply sent to scout the place. Uh, there will be others coming back,
I
but
hope
we
they
may
didn't
not be
take
among them.
everything.
Oh, I doubt it. This is an entire Glowstream was known as a city, even more than a settlement. There is no way that in the short time that has passed since the calm season was down here, that the entire city has been stripped bare. But it is a ruin, and it's a
Cousin,
death trap.
cousin, I hate to ask, but because it's such a death trap, I don't suppose there's anything you can do to help us. We would really prefer not to go back to our city in disgrace.
Oh, dear cousin, I would not dream of you going back in disgrace. Unlike August, I feel like yes, you should enter Glowstream. There are things for you to capture. There are things for you to take back to Telva's Hearth, most certainly. And remember, if the apocalypse comes for you and you alone, well, that is hardly an apocalypse at all.
All we can do is use the forces of chaos to stave off our doom.
Indeed, indeed.
Well said.
Yes, I am no chaosist myself, but I appreciate the sentiment. Chaos plays its part in the doom as well. But we can guide you to the entrance, the exit we used into the settlement, if that would help. At the very least, we know that when we left, there was no one watching that way in or out of Glowstream.
Much appreciated, cousin.
Anything to avert the doom, my dear cousin. Doom, apocalypse, Armageddon. If you're going this way, you are all of you mad. Even as armed as you seem to be, as capable as you must be to have reached this far, it is not a safe place. Go back to Telva's Hearth. Tell them that the settlement has become ruin. Then, by all means, come back. But my advice is to steer clear. Go back with that information.
I mean, that's the thing. We need something to in hand to show them. Otherwise,
Perhaps then head to the glow stream itself. If you must enter the settlement, the waterway that was cutting through the settlement has all but dried up. There are chaos rocks within that are unique to Glowstream. You know the inhabitants of Glowstream wouldn't have allowed you to take any such rocks while they were there. Well, they're not anymore.
thanks for the tip.
Thank you.
Well, if you're suicidal enough to charge right in,
I think we are.
very good. Is there anything else you wish to do here before you move on? These two moths, they do have hefty looking packs, so they may well have something of value on them. But whether they wish to trade it, give it away, sell it, or what have you is another matter entirely. If you wish to move straight onto Glowstream, that is also perfectly valid an option.
Cousin, do you have anything to trade?
Trade, yes, of course, and not just from the rubble around here. You looking for a weapon, perhaps? She pulls her pack down, opens it. I've been collecting things of interesting ore and shape. What is it that you're looking for, cousin?
I gesture for the others to look at the pack to see if there are any weapons they want. And I say, well, you know that I'm always interested in chaos stones.
Oh, I inferred that, cousin, yes. Well, let's see. She digs in. I do have a chaos rock. It's a small one. It's more of a stone than a rock. But if you were looking for something that might detonate, this could, when thrown, alarm a simple-minded beast or even an advanced one.
That could be useful.
But, and she pulls it away, when it comes to matters of trade, moths are moths, and we aren't just drawn to light, we're drawn to goods. What do you have for us?
So I'm assuming my cousin does not want a pocket full of chewed up chaos stones. Instead,
your characters can absolutely, certainly, if you want your characters to have something that seems natural to them, as in they have it on them, then by all means suggest it. In a game of the world below, if we were playing this campaign length, it would be advisable that as you're going along, you'd be chipping out precious ores, gems, stones, things like that for such encounters as you pass. Things like the fungi that Trilon has already procured, for example. That sort of thing is incredibly valuable when meeting a wandering trading outpost like this one. But we've only briefly gone into that in this session, so if you want to narratively come up with something, spend a point of momentum and dictate what it is that you certainly got enough of.
Do they have any gemstones for trade?
I have treasure 1. I can say that I've been collecting valuable ores, and I could maybe roll an influence roll using with a treasure enhancement to barter for the chaos rock.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're using your thesis of treasure, this is one of the powers you have in the game as a result of being, I think in the case of treasure, anyone has access to it, but
it's inheritance, luck, hard work, or some mixture of all three. And it looks kind of like resources from vampire.
Yeah, very similar, Okay, so by all means make a persuasion and either presence or manipulation. Presence is fine. You're not really being manipulative if you're trying to speak, I guess, cousin to cousin here.
Can I use presence plus culture to use like blackleg customs or sayings during bartering?
That is a really interesting idea. Yes, go for it.
Okay. No successes.
Ah, it's a shame. Oh, I am glad. No, that is a shame. That's a shame. Your momentum goes up by 1. As it is, she looks through your treasure haul, the precious stones that you have, and she smiles somewhat pityingly and closes your hand over them and says, "You should keep those for someone who would value gems like that. Sadly, that person is not me, cousin, but you should certainly keep them."
Oh, cousin. And here I thought you wanted to help me avert my doom.
Oh, I do, dear cousin, I do. But all of our dooms are inevitable, and I am sure that my not selling you this exploding chaos rock will neither hasten nor slow your inevitable demise.
Very well. I suppose I have other exploding chaos rocks.
What about the rest of you?
Yes, I got one from the ceiling earlier, and I can always make one on the spot if I have to.
Good.
Do you have any gemstones for trade?
Oh, me? Yes, I have. I picked up gems.
I have a pouch of semi-precious stones, so I don't know if you like any of these. Sounds like
Oh,
you
a
don't like
sto-
stones.
No, stones for stone. I like to see what people have. She examines yours. Uh, Tell me, Hobgob, what's your name?
Luke.
Tell me,
Luke.
Luke, do you play Ormap? Ormap is a popular game that is played across multiple settlements. It's a little like battleships, but you basically design a grid for the opponent, and you basically stake out on your version of the map where the precious ores are and where the subterranean monsters are, and of course are trying to guide your opponent toward falling into traps or well, as opposed to finding valuable ores. It's a pretty popular game in a number of settlements. And she asks you that question.
Yeah, I do play. I do.
All right, I'll give you an enhancement here if you want to try persuasion and manipulation. See if you can get rid of any of your precious, semi-precious stones for something that's actually valuable.
All right. So it's persuasion and
I think manipulation here.
all right. Wow.
Wow.
6 hits.
Ah, so that's where all my hits
Ah.
went.
Yes. We are rolling again. She her eyes brighten. Well, you'll probably know how valuable that semi-precious stone and that one is, and that one is, and that one is in Ormap. So I will take those, and you could have something that has more value in a shall we say material sense. I have this, and she reaches all the way down to the bottom of her pack and extracts a big emerald. It's a chunky one. It's not the size of a head quite, but you could affix this to a mace, and it would act as a nice cudgel.
I like that. I like that.
Well, I know the transactional value isn't quite right, but I do love a game of Ormap. So if you want this emerald, looks a
Excellent.
little like an egg, doesn't it? I wonder what might hatch
Yes.
out of it.
I wonder. Maybe well, maybe more gems.
Yeah, well, almost certainly. Good fortune to you,
Good
Luke.
fortune to you.
Is there anything Trilin or Zions is attempting to extract from this exchange?
Show me your weapons.
Armor.
August grunts. He has the weapons and armor. The armor we've salvaged. The weapons, some of them, well, still salvaged, but in a slightly healthier way. You are shown some wickedly sharp blades and pieces of chitin. You could use them as curved claws, as gauntlets, as daggers, or short swords. I've been carrying this around with me in this leather roll. If I can pass any on to you, it lightens my load. So if you are skilled with blades, alternatively, if you prefer throwing weapons, well, I still
Now
have
you're
these
talking.
blades. But some of these are nicely weighted, you see. They're a light stone, but sharp with it. You probably won't get many uses out of them, but quite often you need to throw a dagger at someone once to make them stop chasing you, in my
I do like
experience.
throwing things.
Well, I've got this whole set here. They are made of alabaster, which makes them quite beautiful. I found them in, and he stops himself, but then he continues, in the wreckage of Glowstream. I'm sure they will be happy to find a new home in the hands of wielders if you have something to exchange.
Is there any light armor in the
Armor, yes, now we are talking. This and he heads to one of the alcoves and pulls away a vined curtain. and gestures. We are going to load this up onto the sleds. You came just at the right time. It's funny how moths immediately enter the patter of the merchant, despite the fact they're on the edge of a decimated, well, worse than decimated, a ruined settlement. Came just at the right time. I was about to close up shop. There you are. We're looking for light armor. This is the armor you want. And he picks it up. Very similar, Trilon, to what you saw earlier. It's web woven armor. So silk, essentially, but silk woven so thickly that whilst if someone was stabbing you directly, it probably wouldn't do much. But against slices, against bludgeoning, it would probably take quite a few hits. The equivalent of, I guess, bulletproof armor in a sense.
I should probably try it on to make sure it works. It fits well, and she is going to just strip down, put the armor on, showing off a little bit more scale than she needs to be able to pull in the striking
You are using your
thesis
striking thesis.
to get it and to attract the attention of this fine, upstanding gentleman.
Wow. Okay, so that's actually going to give you an advantage to a social roll that benefits from your wow factors. Let's see that social roll. Let's go for, I'm guessing, persuasion and presence, but if there's something else you'd like to use.
Yeah, probably, and to negotiate a good deal on the armor. It can theses be combined?
So what are you thinking of combining with it?
Negotiator.
Negotiator. Let's see. So enhancements don't stack, but one is not an enhancement as
It's
such. It's an
advantage.
advantage. So I'm going to say yes.
All right. And we said persuasion and presence.
Yeah, I mean, you're at an advantage here. So for the sake of viewers, advantage. Yeah, thank you. Advantage affects the ability that you use exponentially. Now, this is explained in the rule set, but essentially it acts as a form of multiplier. If you have advantage, you are immediately going to, as the name implies, have certain enhancements that apply above your opponent. This is best demonstrated when, for instance, a giant is fighting a regular-sized human. The giant is expected to have X amount of advantage above the human, and the humans would need to lower that advantage by having numerical superiority or, I guess, godlike ability to bring that giant advantage down to their level so that their attacks start working and things like that. Social advantage is slightly different. Striking is a thesis that gives you a social advantage, and I see we got 3 hits. Was that right?
That's 6 with the enhancement.
Yeah. Okay. Well, August.
10's doubling instead of exploding is doing me way better than
Yeah.
it did in Scion this weekend.
August isn't lascivious. It isn't like a old Hanna-Barbera cartoon. His jaw doesn't drop to the floor or anything. But he can't take his eyes off of Trilon and Trilon's Antician scales, which are, well, how would you describe them, Zach? Like chameleonic? What kind of lizard are we looking at here?
They're very snake-like. And just in patterns, probably something along the lines of what a boa would have.
Yeah.
Dark and browns, greens, blacks, as fitting for being a creature that is from a species that has always existed in the world below and has never ventured to the above.
He can't take his eyes off it, and then he apologizes. He averts his gaze. I do apologize, my lady. I have rarely seen that kind of pattern before, and I should not comment, but I felt I must to explain why my eyes were fixed open. August does genuinely look embarrassed for it. Please, by way of apology for staring is a rudeness that so many humans are guilty of. We are still such a new people. Please take the silk woven armor. I have more of it. You do not need to make trade for it. I would feel bad if I continue to enter into negotiation with you.
Oh, that's very kind of it. Let me give you at least give you some of these mushrooms that I got for some of those throwing daggers. That way you get to make some trade in this.
Zions, are you going for these throwing daggers as well?
No, I'm gonna let the lady have them because this was so good to watch.
Very well. He passes you 5 of these alabaster throwing daggers. You feel the weight of them. Yeah, it's a light stone. They are sharpened to a point. They look more ornamental than practical. They will work. They'll work as thrown weapons, certainly. You wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of one. But these are going to very much be throw and forget.
Mechanics question.
Yes.
Are there any drawbacks to wearing light or heavy armor in this game?
So armor, like weapons in this game, come with tags. Tags basically affect you, might give enhancements in various aspects. So, for instance, heavy armor is likely to give you additional points of defense or health boxes, essentially. Whereas light armor is more likely to repel certain kinds of attack, but not all. Similarly, there may be disadvantages, so complications that you come with different armors. Luckily, in the Ashcan version of this, we will be detailing some of the tags that are present, just as they are in normal Story Path, but there's an even greater list in Story Path Ultra. So, Zions, is there anything you want from this exchange, or are you prepared to head on with grappling hook? I mean, it's served you damn well so far.
That's what I need. Yeah, it's not so much that there's nothing I want, it's more that there's nothing I want to give up. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So the moths bid you a farewell as you approach Glowstream finally. Yes, Michael.
No, I'm sorry. I was in
you're
character
waving.
waving goodbye.
Yes, it's because my scenes are so tightly written, you know. It is the depth. It's the depth that I provide. Glowstream is a ruin. No getting away from that. Its former brilliance, its crystal towers, the ornate guild houses and temples, the broad piazza lined with statues of the settlement's prefects, and of course, the rushing, rejuvenating stream itself is no more. Whatever swept through the settlement destroyed it without consideration or mercy. Now, players, the scenario as written does actually take you into Glowstream a ways, so that you can start looting it, start catching things, start getting involved in conflicts and such. But I think for the sake of our little demo here, our first actual play, this is a good place to conclude. Our characters reach the threshold of Glowstream. They have a world of treasures and dangers ahead of them. But the clock is also ticking. They're about halfway down, and they still have to retrieve whatever it is they intend to retrieve and get back to the portal before it closes. So that is where we will finish our story. What I will tell you, viewers and listeners, I've already mentioned the scenario is in the Ashcan. So I would love it if you happen to play this adventure to provide us with feedback, to let us know how you get on. Do you roll as well as this group of bastards? And do you venture into Glowstream, and what kind of threats do you encounter? There are plenty detailed in the scenario itself. But for the time being, I will leave that as done. So yeah, sorry, Tom. It looks like you're tuning in a moment too late, but don't worry. I have no doubt Dork Tales will upload this, if not to their YouTube, then to Onyx Paths. But thank you so much, all of you players. thank you. I genuinely appreciate it, and I've loved running a game for you. I mean, all of you I have had experience running for now at this point, and I always love running for the four of you across our many games. But thank you so much, Michael, and thank you for the
Matthew.
accent.
Yes.
Thank you for playing an intrepid hobgob so well, who seems utterly in love with the idea of his egg-sized emerald. Thank you so much, Zach, for playing Trident, and thank you so much also, Zach, for playing yet another game this weekend. I know you've had such a busy schedule, so take a brief period off before we start playing our next game very soon. You appear to be muted, but I will.
No, that was an intentional mouthing and
saving his voice.
And of course, thank you, Victoria. You certainly channeled Baldur's Gate's Zan through your playing of 7 Blackleg. Doom and gloom, certainly. And I think that it's a wonderful thing that you conveyed something culturally different for the Makiru. They are an apocalyptic people, and you definitely got that across. And thank you so much, Kat, the grappling hook swinging Zions, who very much saved the day early on. If you hadn't managed that, if you weren't lucky with your first roll.
Well, I did nearly doom us all as well.
Well, if you hadn't used your call animal, and that was creative thinking there, that could have been a battle early on with a lot of opponents. That would have been interesting to see. I was wondering, when Victoria said, I'm a climber, whether she was going to say, I'll climb down into the chasm and see if I can find a way across down there. I thought,
oh no,
that would be interesting.
With my might.
But I just want to thank also Sarah for being our tech person during all this. Sarah, thank you so much for managing this throughout the convention. It really is appreciated. And finally, thank you so much to the viewers and listeners who have been along on this ride with us. Last thing I want to say, as well as look out for the Ash Can in the coming weeks and provide us with your feedback, is, of course, donate to the Bodhana group. The convention is nearly over, but you can still, I imagine, donate $5 of your dollars to Bodhana, who use games as therapeutic tools. They are a charity, a registered charity. You can find the Bodhana group very easily, BODHANA, and any donations you make to them are hugely welcomed, as they are our partners in all of this. But also, if you haven't already backed They Came From the RPG Anthology on Kickstarter, it is my baby, along with many other babies, it seems. And I would love it if you gave it some of your time and some of your money. You can, at this point, if you back it for $5, read pretty much the entire manuscript, and we will be voting on another chapter to add, another genre to add, as of Monday. So, wonder what that will be. I'm counting on Dawkins Creek. They Came From Dawkins Creek. We'll ride again.
Don't listen to him. We could have pirates.
we could have pirates, or we could have Coldplay. And I know which one I'm going for. But on that, Sarah, please sign us off. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching.
Later.